Welcome to the Way of the Spiritual Path. My name is Ursula Lentini, and this is our guest, Clarice Belcher. We are talking about the language of compassion. The show is called The Language of Compassion, A Way to Peace. If you've noticed, not too many people are living in a state of peace these days. And the further we go into the future, it seems like the more things are ratcheting up. We have to purposely ratchet them back into a state of peace. Otherwise, we're all going to go crazy. So if you feel cray-cray in your mind and in your heart these days, welcome to the way of the spiritual path, because that's how we can get back to a place of sanity, a place of peace, a space where we can communicate from our hearts rather than our head. A place where we can connect and get to know each other better, get to know ourselves better. The work I do is subconscious work. It is a way of discovering our true self, our true heart, where we really are feeling like a child of God, so to speak, where we're really feeling on purpose, where we're really feeling important, that we exist on this planet for a purpose, and that we matter. It's good to know that we matter, that we have something of value to give. Very often when we're raised in families where there's not a lot of communication, a lot of connection, it's better just to keep your mouth shut. That's the way it's safe. Better to refer to other people's feelings and thoughts rather than your own, because then you're going to stay out of trouble. There's so many conditions that we're raised in. Our subconscious is like the hard drive, the computer hard drive. When we try to willpower our way out of a situation or out of a feeling, it doesn't work. Not for long anyway, because the subconscious is our programming. The subconscious is where we come from, where we live from. If we've had tragedies and traumas, we live from those places. We communicate from those places. In the subconscious work that I do, we can resolve those and heal them out. This is a way of letting you guys, the listeners and the viewers, know that there's options available for us to change, for us to grow. Our guest today, Clarice Belcher, is a facilitator of compassionate language. So we can learn against our upbringing, against our society's way of being, a whole new way of communicating from our heart, from our needs and from our feelings, which isn't even on most of the radar screens. I've been taking classes from you for 12, it feels like 12 years, for 2 years, and really this awareness has rearranged my communication skills and slowed me down quite a bit when I'm trying to express myself. It's not so much reactionary. I'm coming from a place of cause or a deeper place when I'm communicating. That's what I'm learning slowly. So Clarice, we did a first episode, an introductory, and now if you can please break down the first 4 steps, or the 4 steps of the nonviolent communication, the language of compassion.
I'd love to. Thank you, Ursula. So as your viewers may remember, there are 4 components to this work that Marshall Rosenberg did. The first of those is to have an observation without evaluation. The second one, to share feelings. The third, to state needs. And the fourth, to make a specific request. And it was these 4 components, all 4 of them, not just 1 or 2 or 3, but all 4, that he believed would invite people to speak from their hearts and thereby encourage them to stay connected to their compassion and not slip into the life-alienating communication that so many of us are accustomed to speaking. For many of us, as you said earlier, we are very well trained to speak in this way. As children, we may have heard parents say, "Don't do that, you're a bad girl," or "You're a bad boy." And so we learn there that it may not be safe to be who we are. We don't understand what our parents' feelings are. They may have been terrified that we were just about to run across the street, so they just grab us and say, "Sit, stop, be still." And a child's mind will make sense of that, and what they may ultimately decide is that they're not good, they're not bad. And then over the years, given their experiences in school and with friends and recess, they begin to draw conclusions about themselves that help them to continue the alienation that was begun. This isn't about making parents wrong. This isn't about making educators wrong. It isn't about making anyone wrong. It's really about leading us into a different way of thinking and speaking. And it's just as important how I think on a thing as it is how I speak on it. And so if I can stop at any time I'm approaching a reaction and get clear, well, what is it that I am observing? And state that without evaluation. What was the specific behavior? Was it the movement of an arm? Was it the tone of a voice? Then that can help me get connected to what my feelings are. So what do I feel about that? How do I feel about that? And then that can help me get connected. Well, what are my needs around that? So when I see his hand in a clenched fist, how do I feel about that? Am I terrified? Am I outraged? What is my need? Is it a need for safety? Is it a need to be heard? And then what is my specific request? What is it that I would have him do to change his behavior? And part of that might be getting curious about what he's feeling in the moment as well. But to the extent that no one ever expresses their feelings or expresses their needs, to the extent that we are never explicit about what is alive in us, we will stay stuck. We won't be able to move on. And as you said earlier, that will have implications for any relationship, be it professional or personal, that we will end up walking away and many times confused. Like, I don't know what went wrong there.
What went wrong?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
And, we might early on go, but it's probably his fault.
It's always
sure
the other person's fault. Don't you know that, Clarice?
But then, the second or third time around when
Yeah.
the pattern continues, it's like, well, what is this about? So if we can just move out of fault altogether, move out of wrongdoing altogether, and get into a place of curiosity. What is it that's not working here? What is it that is working here? Then I think we really increase our chances for getting the relationships we want and the life we want. And
Yes.
that's what excites me so much about this work.
It brings in hope.
Yes, yes.
In the work I do with people, there's a depth that I can get to that when my clients come in and we really sit, because they're in a place of confusion, they're in a place of despair, they're in a place of hopelessness, they're in a place that, like, I don't know what's not working. I want to do the work, but I don't know what's not working. I don't know what I'm feeling. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling lost. I'm feeling angry. But I mean, those words aren't even coming out because we're such in a turmoil. It's really our culture. It's really the speed at which we're expected to participate in life. When I do this nonviolent communication, when I do this language of compassion, I have to slow down, almost like put my car, not only bring down the gears, but pull over and park and feel my feelings and wonder about the needs. It's really a discovery. It's a self-discovery process, this language of communication, of compassionate communication. When I have clients come in, they're so inundated with expectations, feelings, disappointment, loss, especially confusion. And the confusion, they can't even say that I feel confused. They just say, I feel stuck. Or sometimes nothing's working. They just know that nothing's working. I'm trying, I'm trying to communicate, I'm trying to let that person know what I need, or I'm trying to figure out what it is I need, or why I'm so unhappy. And there's so many layers, and they all get embedded layer after layer after layer. And we come to adulthood, like you were saying, something happens in our childhood and we've been raised a certain way under certain conditions to nobody's fault. That's just our culture. It's just the way we are. It's anger and frustration coming out in ways that are inappropriate, disrespectful, but the person expressing that, they don't know how to do it better either. So it's really nobody's fault. It's just the way it's been, and moving out of that way into the way of the spiritual path, in my language, into a way of saying, I'm a compassionate person, and I understand that you are too. I'm going to try to communicate from there. But instead, things come out completely backwards and unavailable emotionally. In this world, we have so many common attitudes and phrases that we come from. Knowing the 4 steps, let's repeat them again.
Okay.
Observation without evaluation.
You got it, yes. You want me to do the next one?
Yes.
All right. Sharing feelings.
And finding out what is the need.
And then making a specific request.
It seems simple. 4 little steps, but no.
It's a very different way of thinking, actually. We're so inundated and so habituated to go into wrongdoing. I loved your metaphor about getting off the road, because that strikes me as being attuned. You're highly attuned. I mean, if I can recognize a reaction when it's coming, it's much easier to stop it there than if I'm in a full-blown one.
Yeah.
In fact, while scientists haven't even begun to explore all aspects of the brain, they have discovered that if I get into a place of reactivity, it will take me 20 minutes to move out of it. So if you're saying something to me in those 20 minutes, it's not that I refuse to listen to you, it's that I can't.
Right.
Because my brain is so flooded with chemicals that I can't hear you. So that old adage, go take a walk, was pretty useful.
Yes.
Because we do get ourselves into this excited place where it's very difficult to think along these lines. But to catch it, even as it's coming on, or even once it's happened and it's passed. And then to be with that and to get curious. So what was it that I was observing? What were my feelings about that? What were my unmet needs around that? And what is the strategy that I would use to get my need met? And I want to bring in an important idea about need, because I think somehow that's gotten a bad reputation undeservedly. Like, people don't want to go near needs, you know, like it's a bad thing. And I think that's because a lot of times people have confused needs with neediness.
Neediness.
Yes.
We don't want to feel needy. We don't want to put a demand on somebody else. You know, I have this need, so you have to perform a certain way. That's not what our true need is, and that's definitely not what this work is.
And that's why I think with neediness, there is this idea, I'm not really interested in getting my needs met. I just want to sit here and perhaps complain about it and make you responsible, just as you very astutely observed. So to be able to say, well, I have this need, or I need, that's a place of empowerment. That's a place of strength, because that's where I show up. And I show up on my own behalf. So the way I sometimes think about it is that needs is to neediness as sun is to sunburn.
Burn. Ooh, okay. Okay. So a need is not...
So it's okay. It's okay to say I have a need. And it's okay to know what the needs are. And as we will show, there are a whole list of needs that we can identify. And it's interesting, when I was doing this work earlier, I would look at the list not knowing what I needed, but as I would go down each need, one of them would pop up. I don't know if you've had that same experience or not, but it might be I'm not at all clear what my need is. And then boom, the need for authenticity may pop up, or the need for integrity may pop up. And I go, oh, that's it. That's why I'm feeling so unsettled, because my need for authenticity wasn't met. Or I feel so uncomfortable because my need for integrity hadn't been met. Then, wow, I'm so clear about what's going on with me that I begin to feel my anxieties lower.
So, going through the 4 steps. Now, to jump from our one reality to this new reality is almost like trying to jump over the Grand Canyon, because it's so different. When I come and take classes with you, when I read through the book, Marshall Rosenberg's book, Nonviolent Communication, there's a greater understanding. So I want to show the listeners and the viewers what the Grand Canyon looks like in our mind. We're going to run through some phrases, some common everyday phrases that you probably say all the time, that I say all the time, that Clarice has admitted to saying that frequently. in her past before the nonviolent communication.
Oh, I'm still perfectly capable of
Okay.
doing. This is an ongoing life skill. This isn't something one does in 15 seconds and I'm done.
Yeah, for sure. Because this 2 years of my class, I feel like a beginner. Like I'm just grabbing the concepts now. So we're going to run through, and Barbie and Ken are going to say some simple, regular phrases, normal phrases that we spout out on a regular basis. So let's go inside. Everybody go inside. Go into their heart. Go into their place of instinct, which our animal instinct, our gut instinct. Go into our place of intuition. And that's where we get answers without the brain activating. And go into our heart space. So from that place, listen to what could be the feeling behind the phrase, what could be the need that this phrase is even coming from, the unmet need. All right? So here's Barbie and Ken. The first phrase is, you never listen to me.
He did not like that. Second phrase, you never pay attention to me.
Listen for the need. Listen for the feeling. How come I have to do all the work around here?
You never do what I tell you to do.
I wish you would just leave me alone.
Why can't I go? Oh, my friends are going.
You're always telling me what to do.
You treat me like a child.
I can never do what I want to do.
You don't care about anyone but yourself.
You see the pain?
I feel the pain. I feel the frustration, the anger. Mostly, I think I feel the frustration. How can I get my point across? How can I be heard? And maybe for me, the frustration is connected to the need to be heard. I just don't believe you hear me. I'm raising my voice. I'm using the words as best I know, and I just don't seem to be heard. And I'm at my wit's end. I don't know how to help you hear me.
That's right. So we can say the same thing over and over and over again, like you devils, and they just our partner, like here, Ken and Barbie, she'll be like, oh, rah, 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 and he doesn't understand. He wants to help her, and he just can't.
He's done.
And then a lot of the anger that she is expressing to him feels like, you're not good enough. I made a mistake by marrying you.
That's the jackal language right there.
Let's talk about the jackal and the giraffe real briefly.
Do you know one of the reasons why Marshall chose the giraffe to represent the language of compassion?
Tell me.
Because of all the animals, the giraffe had the biggest heart.
Physically, he has the biggest heart. Mm-hmm. Wow.
And the language of compassion is about the language of the heart.
Heart-centered.
So when the jackal is present, there is not going to be any kind of connection.
We're all up in arms.
But when the giraffe is present, then there is that possibility that when we speak from our feelings and our needs, our observations and our specific requests, that something different can happen, that there can be a connection.
Very nice. And you know, when people get together, when friends, family, when we're just trying to communicate with anybody we care about, even if we have to set a boundary with a friend, for instance, like, you know, oh, she always calls me at 11 o'clock. I'm trying to get my sleep, you know, what? Mm-hmm. So she's really saying, I feel, you name a feeling. What would somebody feel about 11 o'clock phone calls from a friend?
I would feel frustrated, perhaps angry.
Because I have a need for rest and quiet in my nighttime.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, you know, why is she always calling me at 11? You know, you're so needy, you're calling me at 11, when this person might be a night owl. Mm-hmm. And 11 o'clock is nothing to her.
Right.
Because she's never said, you know, it's very disrupting to my lifestyle, and she could just say a nice thing from a place of compassion so she can hear,
yes.
Oh, I'll know not to call her at 11 because has a need for sleep.
And Barbie could make the specific request. So, would you be willing to call me earlier, say 8 in the evening or 9 in the evening? And if that doesn't work, what time would work for you that would be before 9 o'clock in the day?
And we make an offer to find a solution for both of us.
Well, to the extent that we really literally place on the table our feelings and our needs, I may have a strategy, you may have a strategy, but as we discuss our feelings and needs and strategies, there may be even another strategy that arises organically from the vulnerability that we brought. And then I want to meet your need. I don't want to keep you up at 11 or midnight.
Right.
That was never my intention.
Yes.
I may have been excited and wanted to share something with you, but I can wait.
Right.
And that is compassion.
Yeah.
That is my choosing to call you at a different time because I want to, not because, well, I have to because you won't talk to me.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a whole different energy.
Right. So, did any of those resonate with you, those phrases, and the depth where they come from, really, when we're listening for a need, when we're trying to identify the feeling that they come from?
And if they do, please do not feel bad.
Yes.
Or blame yourself.
Yes.
Or make yourself wrong. After years of doing this work, my life partner, who is sworn to secrecy, could easily tell you that I have said these words. We all do when we get into a place of frustration or a place of stress. This isn't about we never say these words again. It's about we get more and more connected, more and more quickly to what is alive in us. And then we can take different steps, use a different language so that we can keep the connection.
So when we're in a place of frustration or I don't know or lost, to move into curiosity has been the most helpful tool.
Beautiful. I agree.
Luckily, there's a list of feelings, and there's a list of needs.
And on those feelings, there are two sets of feelings. One set are the feelings that we feel when we're happy, when our needs are satisfied.
When our needs are met.
Yes. And then there is another list where our feelings appear because our needs are not met. And it's interesting because some people will call the one list the good list, and some people will call the other list the bad list. Feelings and needs are not about being good or bad or being right or wrong. I think of it as pieces of information. So I was calm 4 seconds ago, and now I'm livid. All right, the beauty of that is that I'm being told I have an unmet need. So rather than live in the land of livid and fuel that fire, where I'm going to be there at least 20 minutes if what the scientists tell us is correct, and then maybe 24 hours if I keep adding to that, I can shift out of the land of the livid into the land of compassion and get really clear. All right, so what is the unmet need that produces my feeling livid?
So let's take the one phrase, you never listen to me.
Okay.
And let's explore what that might be.
Okay.
A great thing to do, like sometimes there's a conversation and someone has to go, or boy, wait till your father gets home, or something like that happens. So there's a great time and place. Or if we feel ourselves being emotionally reactive to a conversation that's going on, we can say, stop, I need a timeout. I'll be back in 20 minutes.
That's beautiful.
Then we can go look at the list and go through the list and find out what are we feeling. Because when I look at that list, I can go through and say, no. Oh, there it is.
So it pops right out?
Yes.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Even to be in the thick of a feeling, it can pop right out and you can name it.
Yes.
Naming it is taking ownership of it. And the moment we name it, we begin to move out of the intensity. Not completely, but we do begin to move out. So I'm excited to hear that that works for you.
Yes, very much so. So Barbie says, you never listen to me. So instead of going through that, she can say, I feel like he never listens to me. So
that's the observation, isn't it? She has observed in terms of context and time that the nature of this is not about his spending too much money. It's not about his spending too much time with his men friends. In this case, it's about you never listen to me. So she has beautifully named what the observation is. She might want to take the word never and get really specific, because it's easy to say things like never or always. So it would be interesting, at what point was he not listening to me?
So she needs to observe without evaluation.
Perfect.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Yes, you got it.
Just the facts. So the fact is that she feels not listened to. And when that shows up is, sweetheart, when you come home, I've got so much to share. But me knowing my other work, people when they come home, they kind of need to
compress.
Yes, from whatever they were doing. Change their clothes, take a shower, take some time for themselves so they can get back into center, de-roll almost. And then this person can say, is now a good time to talk. But so she's saying, you never listen to me. So she's observing without evaluation.
Yes.
She can get the facts of the matter gone. Maybe she's picking the wrong time. Maybe she'll get used to that idea.
But mainly she's observing without evaluating. That's a key piece, so that she can get clear for herself exactly the moment in what the feelings arose, because as you know, that's the second step.
I feel. So if someone's saying, you never listen to me, what would some feelings be behind that phrase?
Well, it might be feelings of frustration, feelings of anger, feelings of disappointment, feelings of sadness, to name a few. Do you have any others you would add to that?
Disconnection, feeling disconnected from her feelings.
Feeling alienated.
The third step is the need.
Absolutely, stating the need. And the way that might sound is, so I have a need for, and what would the need be for someone who observes that perhaps has not listened for the past 20 minutes?
The feeling to be heard.
Well, the feeling might be one of sadness.
The need to be heard.
The need to be heard, that could absolutely be one. Maybe the need for connection, the need for intimacy. It could be any of those. You know, the thing of it is, it's not like there's a right feeling or a wrong feeling or a right need or a wrong need. What matters is that I name the feeling that is alive in me in the moment, that I name the need that is alive in me at the moment. To the extent that I am clear about what I'm feeling and what I'm needing in the moment, that's the part that's important. Don't make it up.
It takes
Just
the
be
load
real.
off the story, because we run these stories.
Yep.
And the story can just disappear like a balloon being lifted off.
Well, and it also may not even be true.
Yes.
I mean, you know, it's easy. I do this. I make up a story in my mind. I gather information. I make that information work to conform to the story, and the story may not be true.
Right.
And so if I say nothing and do nothing, then I run the risk of behaving and showing up in a relationship that can only induce alienation.
Yeah.
So if I can get really clear, okay, so the story I'm telling myself is Ken doesn't care. It might be interesting to check that out. Is that true?
So that would be the fourth step, requesting with specificity. Requesting.
That's a hard word.
It is.
Specificity, but it's a good word to introduce into our vocabulary. If we're going to introduce the feelings as a vocabulary, if we're going to introduce needs as a vocabulary, then let's just see if we can figure out a way to say specificity, because to the extent that I am specific in naming my feeling, I'm specific in naming my need, then I simply increase my chances that I will be heard in the way I want to be heard,
And have a proper
without
communication.
creating alienation and, in fact, inducing connection.
Awesome.
That's incredible work,
So
and that's the work we're doing.
Give an example, please, of requesting.
Well, so Marshall believed, I think of them as the 5 magic words. Is the math right?
Would you be willing to?
Yes, so the 5 magic words that precede any request is, would you be willing to? Because I'm not saying, listen to me. If I say, listen to me, I run the risk of that being heard as a demand.
Right.
Whether I intended it that way or not. And that means I increase my chances for not getting the very thing that I wanted from the very person I want it from. But to say instead, would you be willing to listen to me?
It's an invitation.
It's a different question, and I love that. It is an invitation. It is an invitation to join me.
So if she's saying, well, you never listened to me, we broke it down.
Okay.
What would her last request sound like?
So it might be, so would you be willing to look in my eyes as I speak to you? So if we were to take all of this together, the observation without evaluation, the sharing of feelings, the stating of needs, and the making of specific requests, there are sentence stems that we can use. For example, with observation without evaluation, I can begin with the words when I. And the beauty of using I is that I reduce inducing in someone else defensiveness. I can say, when I am sharing my day with you and I see you looking at your text, that's the context. Then I will state what I feel, and that would begin with the words I feel. So I feel angry and frustrated. And then from there, I would share the need, because I have a need to be heard. And then the fourth one, would you be willing to look at me in the eyes when I'm talking? And then we'll find out if you will be. But I think using that kind of language, I increase my chances for Ken hearing.
Right. So where you can see, obviously, the clarity from you never listened to me to, hey, would you be willing to look at me in the eye so I can feel you, so you can feel me, so we can feel connected, so we can actually be the couple that we want to be together. When someone is asked, when I'm in a nonviolent communication or a language of compassion, and I'm listening to somebody express something, my heart just goes, whatever you need. I want to give you whatever you need, because you're being respectful to yourself, to your feelings, to your needs. Universal needs, by the way. They're not just your needs because you're being a self-centered SOB. They're a universal need to connect, to communicate, to feel, to engage, all these things. I want to be there too. So instead of being like, oh, what's she going to say now? Like, I wish you would avoid this conversation. When you come to me from a place of stableness and centeredness, I can also receive you in a place of curiosity, like, what's she going to say now? And
without fear that, oh God, it's coming my way.
Yes.
I don't know when.
Here it comes.
But it's coming.
Right.
So to not do that and to show up vulnerably instead, that does open doors.
Yes. Because when I open my door for vulnerability, you're more than likely going to open your door for vulnerability.
Marsha Rosenberg was really clear. This work is not about manipulating others. If we try to manipulate others by using this work, it won't work.
No.
But as you said, and I just loved how you touched on that, if in fact I'm genuine and I'm real, I am really hurt that you don't hear me. That's very different from you never listen to me.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today on this deep, real conversation. Thank you, Clarice, for expressing your years and years and years of work to come to this place of clarity that you're bringing to me and to the listeners and viewers, because that has a lot of value to it.
Thank you, Ursula. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us on the Way of the Spiritual Path. You are listening to the Lighter Side Network, where we have so many shows to share with you on your spiritual path, myself and the other hosts. This is a joy to be able to share this with you. I'm so grateful